Welcome, Lorelei, and thank you for being here today. Now, these are impressive business results, but before we discuss them, can you please introduce Old Mutual to the audience?
Yeah, so Old Mutual is a financial services industry that's been around since 1845. We currently have about 1.3 trillion rands assets under management. We have a presence in 17 different countries, so it's in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. We currently employ about 31,000 staff. We, for the last 7 years, have won the top company to work for in South African financial services, so hopefully our staff are happy. And we have about 12 million customers that we service within the organization.
So pretty large organization. Actually,
Yes.
the picture I had with the tanker came up from a conversation I had with you several years ago, because that's how it felt to change that large organization. How do we turn this organization big, the culture, all the aspects of digital transformation? So why did you start this digital transformation journey? What were the reasons behind it?
I think that we started understanding that the world was evolving, and if Old Mutual stayed the way it was, we wouldn't be able to grow, because more and more customers were wanting to engage digitally. So we started saying, how do we enable our organization digitally? And actually, our first thing was, how do we improve our internet, mobile presence, etc.? And the strategy started with that, only to realize, but maybe that's not the right answer. So we did quite a lot of work speaking to customers, understanding what they wanted, and it wasn't about, we want to be digitized totally. It was more about they wanting to engage with the channel of their choice. And a large volume of our business is in our mass market, and many of those customers felt that they wanted to engage face-to-face for certain transactions, and for other transactions, they wanted to engage via the mobile or web. So we needed to make sure we could facilitate all of that. And when we started this transformation journey, we said, well, how do we best do it? And the best way to do it, instead of trying to enable it with customers first and letting them see if you're going to fail or succeed in your digitization, let's actually build a capability and let your own staff use it first. Because if your staff can use it and navigate through it, then your customers can do the same. So that's why we chose to go with branch and face-to-face first. So although we're digitally enabled, it was to enable our face-to-face staff first.
And what were the challenges there? How did the systems landscape look like at the time?
Yeah, I think it's like you said earlier on, the technology was the easier part. Our organization has many different lines of business. So our organization has a lending business, it has a retail mass business, a retail affluent business, and then a wealth business. And it also has a corporate, which is a retirement fund administration business. And every business believes they're totally unique. Even though we found that a lot of our customers were across the holdings, they had products across that, we couldn't service them across the holding because each line of business had 2 to 3 product admin systems. So I think our biggest challenge starting it was not about the technology, it was really about trying to get the businesses to align to say, but we all service one customer and the needs aren't that different. So how do you move from an internal-led, what we think processes and systems should look like, to actually how the customer wants to experience it? And I think that change management and that culture change was huge. It was a struggle. I think once we sort of changed our strategy on that, it became a bit easier.
So tell us a little bit more about that journey. So how did you approach the project at the beginning, and how did you see it evolving during the course of the months?
Yeah, so when we first chose the solution, to be honest, we were looking at just changing our business processes. So when we went out, we designed how we thought a BPM organization should what it should look like, and went through a process of choosing a technology, and we chose Bizagi for that. But then we realized it wasn't actually about maturing your business processes. It was actually trying to change your organization and change your people, and how people engage with your organization. So we started, saying, okay, how do I look at, we had over 1,000 processes, how do I take those processes and enable it on a workflow solution? Well, then we realized that's the wrong answer. So in the video you would have seen we've got the rainbow screens. That was the start of our transformation journey, because what we did is we actually said, let's go back to where the customer begins and how and why they actually engage with us. Instead of taking it internal to external, let's take it external and look at how they engage with us. So we said there's basically 5 reasons that they will engage with the financial services industry. They're either wanting to buy something, or they want advice. They either want money out of the investment that they've made with us, they want to make changes to the portfolio they have, or they want to come and ask us for information and inquire, or they do want to compliment and complain. So those are really the key reasons why customers engage. We looked under that and said, okay, now for those reasons, what processes enable those 5 things? And we then simplified the process and say, actually, when you come to the heart of it all, you've actually got 70 processes. So under that, it's not the 1,100 processes that we had. There's 70 key processes that support what a customer wants to do with us. The rest you don't need because it's actually irrelevant. So by doing that, you start strengthening the story about I'm doing this for the customer's perspective, not because the line of business actually suits it. So our challenge was really to be able to move into that direction.
Yeah, that, as far as I can remember, that took us a while because the initial mindset was all about technology, and we were going into meetings in such a large organization. You have meetings with 50 architects, and they want to design the perfect data model, the perfect SOA layer, and after several months, we hadn't delivered anything. It was only when the company decided to focus on the customer and then their way back into the technology that things started moving. Now, at some point, there was a concept of a big bang approach, and can you share a little bit more about that part of the story?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, to be honest, we weren't sure. This was a new journey we were going on. You were trying to change a culture of an organization that's been running a certain way for 170 years. And to change that, I promise you, it is like trying to move the Titanic. It's not a very easy mission. So until one day, one of the Bizagi resources walked into my office and said, this is never going to work. We're never going to deliver anything because you're trying to change the world. Don't try and change the world. And I think that was like a harsh message to me. And we said, okay, stop. Let's not do that. Let's try and build something and actually test it. At the time when we went live when we tested in the branches, the organization was also going through an approach of, do we actually close our branches down, or do we make them, can we make them a viable profit center? We realized a lot of our customers felt that if we don't have a branch in their present, they don't believe that we're going to exist for very long. So it became a very cultural thing. So we then said, guys, what are the key things for the customer? Let's actually build something and take it only to 2 branches and pilot what the customer experience will be. So we literally got rid of the rest of the business, brought a few people that really subject matter experts from the floor, from the branch, that actually engaged with customers and said, we had a team, or when we started with a huge team, to basically a team of 10 people, where we said, you need 2 Bizagi developers, you need 1 integration person, you need 2 subject matter experts, you need a business architect, and you need a business owner that makes decisions. And that's really, we streamlined, and we just said, let's build. And on a weekly basis, we would build these components and show the business, say, why not? So it wasn't about, are you happy? It's, why can't this work? Really did that. And then we then said, okay, let's take it out to the branches. Again, what we learned is taking to one branch in Cape Town's experience is different to an experience in Johannesburg, etc. Customers are different. So we would enhance it. And what we would do is every time we would take it out, we would run a sort of a pilot in that branch for a couple of weeks, take the experience, and then say, okay, let's refine it. And we kept on building. So we didn't do, I think we started it very different from wanting to land a BPM solution to actually landing an engagement layer that actually enabled customer service, and then said, we will, in the beginning, we'll create the perception from a customer, it's a one-stop service. We allowed us to work across 27 different product admin systems and them thinking we're dealing with them as one customer. The fact that we had 20-odd PASs in the back end they didn't know about. And I think that was, and you said we'll sort of paddle at the bottom here like ducks, making everything look beautiful on the top here. And then we said we will then start doing the business process management in the back end after that. And that was really the approach that we took. Yeah,
that was an amazing journey. Coming back to Guy's presentation, he had this big crappy slide. One thing that was stopping us at the beginning in such a large organization was that nobody wanted to make a single mistake. There was this culture of no mistakes. And when you're trying to bring these new technologies into the organization, you have to be mistake-friendly and let people try things and don't fire anybody because they made a mistake. So that part of the journey was also very interesting in just releasing a first process, just to get acquainted with the whole approach of transformation, even if we had to throw it away. And that was something supported by all the management team. They said, okay, guys, go out there, digitize the first process, let's go out there and touch it. And if it doesn't work, that's not the problem. We will have learned a lot along the way. And combine the two aspects, combine the customer centricity and this experimentation approach, really started delivering results very quickly. What other challenges did you face during the process?
Well, to be honest, we didn't realize it would be as successful at what it is. And so from going from 68 branches to, well, we've just hit over 300 branches, we didn't realize the amount of transactions we would have. So we have an average of about 3,000 transactions per second. Unfortunately, we didn't go with the cloud solution, so infrastructure became a problem because we didn't expect that volume. I think, what we also didn't anticipate, so we had key drivers on increasing customer service, etc. What we didn't anticipate was the amount of sales we got from servicing. Because so many customers came in and because we started to understand their needs, we could actually sell them new products. And because of that, and became a big profit center, the volume and the scale just grew so big. And the learning for us was we didn't anticipate it, so therefore invest in it. I think our next best step is now to go to a cloud solution before we grow it further into our organization. The other thing is the user uses Bizagi, and so if something happens in the rest of your organization, it's not about, your service bus is down or your PaaS is down, it's about Bizagi's down. So in the beginning, honestly, when we went live, we made this volume and we had many outages because we just couldn't deal with the scale and volume. I think there were many days I was like close to being fired. It's like, what have you done? What have you done? The branch, is down. The customers can't be serviced, because you're really face to face. But I think, in the end, after, really understanding, investing in that, and working very closely with how do we mature the model with the Bizagi team and our infrastructure team, we now can deal with the scale of volume, and I think very successfully, And at the moment, we're actually piloting the same solution in our contact centers because it's worked so well in our branches, and we're actually saying, can we do it? So in the contact center, it's working really, really well. We're piloting now. By the end of the year, all our contact center agents will be using the same solution, just voice instead of face-to-face.
Yeah, I think there is a big learned lesson there. When you put this digital process layer wrapping your legacy systems, the interdependencies are huge. I mean, if you don't have the right network, if the services that are exposing data and transactions to this digital process layer they don't provide the right quality or performance, everything breaks. So you need to see this holistically and make sure that the dependencies actually deliver the capabilities required at the digital process layer. And it took us a while to get there. Also, because the only way to get this to work is to work together. So you need to bring the vendor and the different providers and get them to work as a team with the ultimate goal of delivering this process into production. Very, very important. So when you're looking back, what would you have done differently, Lorelei?
I would not, honestly, I think I would have started with that smaller team. I would not involve the whole organization. I would have first defined, and that's what we're busy doing now as we're going to be deploying this into our corporate and wealth business, is actually have a look at the current as-is, define where you want to be as, what is your business strategy, what are the capabilities you need to enable that business strategy, and then start building those capabilities and showing people. Don't try and get the whole organization behind you because you will hear all the reasons why not. And, as he said earlier on, you believe before you can see. I think, in our organization, it's a bit of, actually we want to see it. So therefore go and get people that really believe in change and wanting to understand what are the strategic sort of drivers that you have and build it and show it and people will follow, And I think, the other thing is to actually be very clear about what you're wanting to achieve and do it slowly. Every couple of weeks, do a release, do a release, do a release. Don't try and conquer the entire world because the amount of change then just becomes all-consuming that you actually become paralyzed.
Okay. Good. So when we look at the business results, they are very impressive. So how is this developing in the future? Where are we on this journey?
Well, so, our customer net promoter score actually is increasing month on month, and I think it's also because it wasn't just about landing the technology. The staff that we enabled previously, we used to take up to 3 months to train our staff on our products and our processes. Because imagine all the different products and the different pairs, they all had their own processes. So by we built almost a knowledge management tool into Bizagi by using scripting, etc. And as the agents have got more used to it, they can give a better level of service. And we've managed to reduce the training from 3 months to 3 days, where we train them on financial services. So bring someone in the street, it's a week on training on the lending business, because that's a bit more advice related, and 3 days on product, because the system actually guides them to every step that they need to go in. They don't really need to get to know our products and services. We enable them with a knowledge management tool. Then, the other thing is, obviously, because you've basically got this orchestration layer between your back ends and the complexities and your front end, we've managed to do a lot more point of contact resolution in our organization. And as we BPM in the processes now more in the back end, your results are more and more. And we're currently busy piloting robotics on that too. So we're using RPA, to really saying there are certain things that the business orchestration layer can do, and there are certain things that we can actually automate. So we're in a process for the last couple of months on doing. We've only got 3 robots, but we're busy learning and piloting on that. I think the big change was the queue times. Our queue times were very long. People would sometimes stay in a branch for an hour and a half, and that reduced significantly. And on a monthly basis, obviously our targets are every month get increased. You actually see results. I think the most powerful result that we didn't estimate was most of our top advisors now still in our branches, whereas we actually didn't really believe that we would make that amount of sales. We've actually got a lot. So besides the lending business component, a lot of our short-term and life business is now sold in our branches. Yep. And what we call millionaire advisors now sitting there because they make the most sales. So that was an unexpected sort of consequence, but great.
So you're not going to be fired anytime soon now?
Hopefully not.
Good. I just want to open some space for questions for Lorelei from the audience. Yep.
Hi, this is Ashish from Infosys. So you said you rolled it out to 70-odd branches and moved so fast. So how did you manage this kind of change? Because the kind of change that you will see on such a huge volume on process and the rollout, that would also be huge. So what was your was there any specific model that you followed, or, how did you manage all that?
Okay, yeah, so what we did is we started with saying, let's start with 2 branches, let's test it, get feedback, mature, let's test it, feedback. We started with really actually just training the guys on how the solution would work, how they would experience and how they can navigate through it. Also, a lot of the branch people didn't have knowledge of financial services, so that was quite an advantage because it was new for them. And then we also had a mechanism for them to give feedback to us, to say, this is not working, can you enhance that? And by doing that, they started feeling that they were being listened to. And, and we felt that it helped as you roll it. So we started with 2, and then we would go we'd go for 2 weeks. Then we'd go with 8 branches, etc. And in the end, we rolled out, to, as I say, just over 300 branches because of the success. We grew our branch strategy. The most important thing to me, I think, is listening to the people that are actually dealing with the solution. So when they said there's a slow response, or I can't navigate this, or I need this information, many of our customers are coming in and asking, for example, premium history. It was a big thing, where they were saying, I can't pick up a history of the premiums I've paid you. So the minute we started getting, we said, what are the top categories coming around, from all over the country, and let's prioritize in that. So it was nice because I think the change management, the people using the solution felt that they were being listened to, and therefore, that you get the buy-in, So, and obviously when you get staff satisfaction rates that have increased too, management start listening and thinking, okay, we've probably done something right.
Yeah, we see this very often, that at the beginning, the users think this is a big brother system controlling them and things like that. And then when you roll it out, people actually say, this system was designed to help me do my job. And somebody took care of that, and they actually start embracing it and become the biggest supporters. But you have to win the people, and the story from Lorelei is constantly, and Derek mentioned it before, it's the biggest bottleneck are the people, and convincing them, communicating them, and bringing them on board. More questions from the audience? No? Here's one.
So to that same point about convincing the people, because that's what I really wanted to ask is, I mean, success breeds success, but failure is like contagion and you can't control it. So how did you mitigate that? And also kind of a corollary question is, how did you select the particular branches that you went to first?
Okay, so when we looked at the, so firstly, the team that we got a team that believed in what we were doing was right. Because there was a lot of people, you spoke about naysayers earlier on, they said this is never going to work. So it's really having, your team needs to believe, and they need to be able to have tenacity to be able to stick to what they believe in, so that was a challenge. And then to select the branches, we started looking at what are different cultures in different branches, where are they situated, etc. So we chose diverse branches, so a branch out in the country is different to a city, etc. And so you would get different levels of experience and different levels of engagement. And so we would choose within regions, within, small branches versus big branches, etc. And we would pilot those and then have people in the branch when we went live to support them, so that if there were queries, you're staying with them. Because remember, we're testing it with a customer in front of us. So how do you help and support them in those branches? And that, so they didn't feel that they were set up for failure. They could actually test and pilot it. And within time, the more they got used to it, and it took about a week that they had to learn to navigate through the system. And after that, the more comfortable they became, the less they had to refer to a system, the more they could actually do, and then just capture the information onto it.
Good. I think we're already over time.
Okay.
I could stay here all day because there is so much knowledge and experience here. Lorelei, thank you very much. Looking forward for the next projects and the transformation journey. Thank you very much.
Thanks.